Oh, it doesn't get any sweeter than this. Oh my god, I'm so furious! Holla ballers, we're doing Fury Warriors! You guys voted for it, preachgaming.com, you wanted some Fury action. I'm here to bring it to you, baby. Damn straight, I love Fury. Wait a minute, no I don't, in fact. Oh, sad face! Blizzard continues to F with our rage. They like the idea that as warriors get more gear, we will get more rage and able to spam things like Heroic Strike more. The problem is, of course, when we get that gear, warriors tend to do a lot more damage than everybody else, as we've seen in Cataclysm. Arms warriors destroying legendary casters and legendary rogues left and right. Why is this, Blizzard? Why don't you just balance our rage around the fact that we will be spamming Heroic Strike? Just give us plenty of rage instead of making us go, well, you'll be pretty crappy at the beginning, but later on you'll be pretty bit better. Yeah. Fuck you, man. We just want to destroy. Enough of the whine. Let's go on with Fury. Fury Warriors. Rah! One thing about the Fury Warriors is they are the coolest of the cool. There is nothing cooler than wielding two big two-handed weapons on your back. How badass does my character look with those two big things sticking off his back? You know you're in trouble. You know you're in trouble. Of course, I am level 90 on the Beta Realms, raiding on my warrior, and I wanted to give Fury a bash. Fury just got patched to make it balance out a bit with arms. What we actually saw was it was a nerf to Fury. The maths actually show that although they tried to fix it, ultimately the maths points to the fact that it is actually worse than it was previously, and in fact it then screwed over arms. So warriors aren't doing particularly great on the Beta Realms at the moment. That's okay, hopefully it will get fixed. Let's talk about our spells, and let's talk about a little bit about the problems of Fury. We get Bloodthirst, as always. It now generates rage, very cool. An instant attack dealing 90% weapon damage plus 1121 with your main hand weapon and restoring 1% of your health. Bloodthirst has double the normal chance to beat a critical strike. Cool. That works well with that other stuff. We then get this furious guy. Look at that face. He's a crazed berserker. You're a master of dual wield combat and you can equip one-hand and offhand weapons in your offhand. What is the wording on that? You can equip one-hand and offhand weapons in your offhand. Well, of course I can equip offhand weapons in my offhand. Thank you for that clarification. Your auto attacks do an additional 40% damage and your offhand attacks do an additional 25% damage. Now we come to the problem. Wild Strike. For some reason I keep reading this as Wild Mike from that cartoon movie. Whatever. Wild Strike. A quick strike. With your offhand weapon that deals 260% weapon damage plus 1528 and causes mortal wounds, which is the healing debuff. Costs 30 rage. We also get Raging Blow, costs 10 rage, very cheap. A Mighty Blow that deals 200% weapon damage from both melee weapons. Mutilate. What? Sorry? No. Can only be used while enraged. We still have the enraged mechanic from Cataclysm. Yes, and enrage can come from a couple of sources. You can see that Raging Blow is grayed out, but if I go ahead and use my Berserker Rage, we get some rage. There you go. Raging Blow is now live and active to play. Cool. We have Wild Strike. You don't need to be enraged for that. That's alright. So let's jump into the spell book a little bit before I show you some gameplay of this going down. One thing that's not on that, as remember, for some reason Blizzard decides to show you the key parts of Fury but misses various things out. Our Mastery is still Unshackle Fury. While enraged, we increase our damage done by 14%. Your Mastery will increase that. Meat Cleaver. This is supposed to be our AoE ability, and it sucks balls. Dealing damage with Whirlwind increases the number of targets that your Raging Blow hits by 1. This effect stacks up to 3 times. Using Raging Blow will consume this effect. So we have this idea of being a Furious Master. Let me get over here to a training dummy, and I will show you. We fire off Whirlwind when we get some rage. Come on, Blizz, give us some rage. There's Whirlwind. It does shockingly bad damage. Shockingly bad. We need fucking loads of mobs to make Whirlwind worthwhile. But you can see I'm stacking up Meat Cleaver. Meat Cleaver is good. But look at this, if I'm AoEing, I have a very, very low chance of actually becoming enraged. I now have the 3 stacks of Meat Cleaver, I need to fire off Berserker Rage, and then I can do a big Raging Blow. That does hit for 203,000 damage. The actual final effect of it is pretty damn good, there's no doubt about it. The simple fact it requires enrage effects is very annoying. Not only do we need to use 3 Whirlwinds, which costs 30 rage. So to set it up, we need 90 rage, and we're going to need enrage and 10 rage. So we need a full 100 rage in order to pull off this ability. Rage is not that easy to come by as a current warrior. It's not. There you go. I do a couple of these. Then I can fire off another one. Now I need to enrage myself, and then I can fire it off. Boom, I do a ton of damage. It does kind of work. It's got a good theory behind it. The only problem is Whirlwind is just so expensive for the damage it does. 30 rage, and we need quite a few mobs. That's not too bad, but it could do with a little bit of work, that's for sure. Blood Surge is still there, something that is not shown on the talent screen. Your Bloodthirst hits have a 20% chance of lowering the global cooldown to 1 second and reducing the rage cost by 20 of your next 3 Wild Strikes. I'm probably not going to be able to pull one off for you in this video. I've just done several Bloodthirst and it never procced. Nope, not going to proc for me. Not going to proc. Ugh. Come on, proc. Nope, not going to proc. It's very, very random, believe me. Blood Surge is pretty random. A 20% chance is pretty low. 20%, 1 in 5 Bloodthirst is going to activate your Blood Surge. Bloodthirst itself has a reasonable enough cooldown, Blizz. We would like maybe a 30, 40% chance to activate that Blood Surge proc. Blood Surge is pretty sweet. Now, one of the big issues is you are going to be... Let me talk about a little bit about what your rotation is going to look like. Colossus Smash is obviously awesome. We want to be keeping Colossus Smash down. We get enraged from our Bloodthirst crits. If you're wondering where this enrage comes from here, it comes from Bloodthirst crits. You're going to be tracking your enrage pretty well. One of the problems is Raging Blow. I fire off my Berserker Rage in order to activate. There's Blood Surge. Is you cannot really... you can't do it. Your Berserker Rage gives you just enough enraged uptime to fire off 1 Raging Blow. It's a 6-second cooldown, and of course Berserker Rage lasts exactly 6 seconds. Now perhaps if you macro these together so you get an instant cast Raging Blow, you might be able to fit the second one in. But God forbid you've used any other global cooldown in that meantime, you will not be able to fire off another Raging Blow. That kind of sucks. We would like either Berserker Rage to last 7 seconds, or the cooldown just to be lowered to 5 seconds of Raging Blow. If I'm going to use my Berserker Rage, which is on a large enough cooldown as well, 30 seconds, then I would like to use 2 Raging Blows if I've decided to use a cooldown in order to do that. Okay, just one of those things. Now the other problem is, I'm always talking about problems, aren't I? Oh, I suck balls, and I love the Warrior. Is that Wild Strike actually does not too different a damage from Raging Blow. Raging Blow, 100k. We can spam Wild Strike for 45k, but it's cheaper, and it goes off very, very quickly. You can see it's getting for 28k. And then we keep doing it. Come on, give me more rage, give me more rage, give me more rage, give me a Bloodthirst. When Bloodthirst procs, your Wild Strike is going to do tremendous amounts of damage. It really is. So your essential rotation is to keep Colossus Smash on cooldown. And when you've got a Colossus Smash up, you want to be firing off things like a big Raging Blow. You want to use as many Wild Strikes as possible. There we go. All this kind of stuff is important. You now have to manage a lot to get good DPS out of Fury. You have to manage both your enrages. Your Colossus Smash, when not enraged, can feel like a waste. That is a big thing. And stuff like Dragon Roar, which for arms is just always, always awesome. It hits for about, a minimum I've seen out of Dragon Roar is about 127k. For a Fury Warrior, when it's off cooldown, I need to use it. I'm risking losing one, even while enraged. You can see, oh, that was rubbish. Even while enraged, it's only 120k, where the minimum I've seen from arms is 127k. That's a big issue for me, is that's while enraged, that's while using all my big damage buffs. It could be a stat priority, maybe we need to throw a lot more mastery in for stuff like that. That's possibly the case. But most of your damage is going to come from the fact that you are just attacking. Your simple white hits are going to do the absolute majority of your damage is just going to become from swinging your weapons. And that's not to say that's a bad thing, but I would definitely like to see Wild Strike or Raging Blow buffed. I think Raging Blow could use just a nice big damage buff. Considering we can only use 1 per Berserker Rage, and we're relying on Bloodthirst crits, which doesn't always happen, in order to fire off our Raging Blow, then I would certainly love to see a buff to that damage, just so it's meatier. So when we're lining it up, we get a bigger benefit from Raging Blow. A much bigger benefit. I want Raging Blow to feel that meaty. If we're only going to be able to fire off 1, or we're relying on Bloodthirst crits, I want Raging Blow to hit like a fucking truck. That's what I want to see happening. But we'll get there, we'll get there. So, your basic style of play is, of course, we've got no slam anymore, nothing like that. You're going to be doing as many Bloodthirst to keep your rage up. And then when you get a nice proc, get your Colossus Smash on, get firing off those Wild Strikes. You can see how much Wild Strike is hitting for when it lines up nicely. It's not too far off the Raging Blow. It really is not. and then you Raging Blow whenever you can. That is essentially it. Fury is very sort of simplistic now. We use Bloodthirst on cooldown, use our Colossus Smash at the right time. We've got a lot to manage, and then you come into, it's either going to be Wild Strike, it's going to be Wild Strike with Blood Surge procs, or it's going to be Raging Blow if you have the option to do that. That is essentially your Fury build. When it comes to AoE, we are going to be trying to fit in these Whirlwinds. We're going to be doing as many Whirlwinds as possible, trying to get those 3 stack up. Whirlwind, Whirlwind, Whirlwind. And then we want to enrage ourselves so we can fire off this Raging Blow. Boom. Lagging. There we go. Fire off a big-ass Raging Blow. Even then, you're going to be reasonably competitive. This is not matching up with the permanent sweeping strikes of arms. Arms will consistently pull ahead, and when you blow cooldowns and you've got sweeping strikes up as arms, you're going to see anywhere between 70 to 80k sustained DPS. On trash packs in raids as an arms warrior, I've been pulling consistent 120 to 130k DPS as arms. Very nice if I've got the option to AoE. AoE damage should be much harder because we're hit-attacking more mobs. Fury just feels a little bit lacking behind. That's all I'm going to say. It's not too bad. So I'm going to show you some gameplay now. We still have single-minded Fury and Titan's Grip. Currently, Titan's Grip is slightly further ahead, and it looks so much cooler, which is always a bonus. It looks that much better. So I'm going to jump into some gameplay now and show you a little bit of Fury. Alright, ballers, you take it easy. Alright, so I'm going balls deep on this boss, okay? I'm popping Wreck, I'm popping Avatar, I'm popping all that crazy stuff. One thing you're going to notice is the numbers aren't huge. There's no immense amounts of numbers, but that's normal with dual wield. We tend to be focusing on smaller white hits that do a ton of damage. You can see I'm still white hitting there for 35k. You are going to notice that I am not storming the DPS. This is one of the first 5-mans where I actually got beat. Oh, sad face. Preachy got beat. But that's okay. Warlocks at the minute, especially Affliction Warlocks, are doing insane amounts of damage. Crazy numbers. So don't worry about that too much. The numbers are still there. You can see I was still way ahead of the other guys. But single target actually felt relatively weak. I'm using as many Raging Blows as possible, using those Wild Strikes, but essentially your damage is going to come down to White Attacks and Wild Strike. It's going to be miles ahead of the rest of them. Wild Strike was way up there, so Wild Strike is actually a very cool attack. You're not even relying on those Blood Surge procs whatsoever. You're just making sure that you get off those bloodthirsts and then you're wild striking in between. One thing you definitely need to take great care of is managing your enrage. Similar to Kata in that respect, is you can keep a much higher uptime of enrage in Kata than you can now. I did feel when it came to AoE, I'm AoEing now, I was still kind of learning the best way of AoEing. I wasn't too happy with the whirlwind stuff. As I said, it costs 100 rage to set up a big whirlwind. In 5-mans, that can actually mean that the mobs are dead, especially if you've got a serious AoE pack. I felt that Cleave was reasonably cool, but not amazing. Even cleaving all the mobs was still about 40k. And I was relying a hell of a lot on Dragon's Roar in order to pick up my DPS and make my DPS nice and tidy. When it dropped down to single tag, you see I started way ahead of everybody else. But pretty quickly, everyone else started to catch my ass up. God damn, I don't want you to catch my ass up one way or the other. I then showed you this boss, which is, again, is one of those situations where AoE comes in the middle of a boss fight. It happens quite a lot. Some ads will spawn, something along those lines. And then you're thinking, oh God, what the hell do I need to do here? Do I start whirlwinding? Do I then start trying to set up a big Raging Blow? Overall, that is what you're going to be doing, so I'm hoping that AoE picks up. You can see I was trying to do some cheese, I was trying to get in the middle of everybody, I was getting those whirlwinds going. You can see whirlwind there, 95k whirlwind with about 8 or 9 mobs. Setting up for the big Raging Blow. But with Berserker Rage on cooldown, I then had this stack of Meat Cleaver I just could not use. God damn, that is so frustrating. One of the annoying things about this is that you will set that up and it just will not come off. I was mixing in Thunderclap though to get some nice deep wounds ticking and everything. I think that helps. But then I just started including this because I was super fucking cool here. The tank died, pops the shield wall, immediately goes defensive and just generally acts like a complete baller, outrages the flurry and just generally tanks it to the death. Yeah, even charges in to pull off some big stuff over here. Tank does get res, does not bother to taunt it back. He just sort of stands way away from me and brings it to the death. Got to include stuff like that because that is where a baller shines and absolutely comes into his own. Tank did in fact eventually pick it up and go for the big kill on the final mob. So fair play to him. He got res and then ignored the boss. But don't worry, Preacher's got you back, bro. Preacher's got you back. It doesn't matter. I've got you. Getting back to the Fury stuff then. It can feel like, I don't know, it feels like you're doing a lot of work for not a lot of results. It actually feels a lot like a Demo Warlock on Cataclysm, where we have tons and tough stuff to manage, and ultimately just white attacking is doing predominantly large amounts of DPS. I don't like that. I don't like having so many different things to manage. I've got to manage my enrages. I've got to make sure I get the best use out of Raging Blow. I've got to squeeze it in. If I'm AoEing, I've got to make sure I've got my Meat Cleaver stacks nice and high, and then we're getting Rage to fire off that Raging Blow. All that kind of stuff. It feels like I'm managing a lot of little fiddly ass pieces of stuff in order to get a great result out of it, and then the result just isn't overall that great. You know, that's the thing. I was equal with the I was actually below the Ret Pally, or equal with the Ret Pally, and around equal with the Ellie Shaman as well. Ellie Shamans are a little bit more balanced now, still could be a little bit overpowered in the big numbers, but that's okay. No big deal at all. I came into this last boss because he looks really, really cool. He looks really cool. I was waiting for the guys. This is a good example of how people will blindly follow you. I had no idea here if you could do this. I literally was like guessing, and everyone just assumed I was doing the correct thing and just followed me. I had a total guess. I could have completely died. I was actually aiming to land on this lantern here and just fell right through it and just did not die. Luckily did not die, and everybody just lands around me like falling snowflakes. It was so cool. Because I was kind of like, guys, I have no idea if this works. I really have no idea if this works. I know you're supposed to run around and use the ropes to get down here, but seriously, I'm just going to go for it because I can't be arsed running. And everyone was like, oh, this guy must know where the hell he's going, so I'm going to do this too. I could have wiped the whole group there. I just thought it was hilarious and well worth including in a video. Luckily, it worked out well. I actually did the right thing. So in this boss, I can again show you how the setup. Your pull is really awkward as Fury. It feels a little bit awkward to me. Maybe I need to work on it a little bit. I kind of have this instinctual use to keep Colossus Smash on cooldown. That's not always the best thing to do. You can see I pop in Colossus Smash and then I'm trying to use my cooldowns while Colossus Smash is up. Unfortunately, the debuff wore off, and we don't have something like the Arms Warriors have, where Colossus Smash can refresh, allowing you to keep a decent Colossus Smash up. This puts a huge amount of emphasis for Fury on Colossus Smash, as it's a massive amount of increased DPS while it's going on. You want to have Raging Blow up while you've got Colossus Smash on. You want to have maybe a Blood Surge proc at least. Things like that are really, really important. Ignore the damage meter for this. These guys didn't really know what they were supposed to be doing and about getting up onto the weak spot ASAP. The lock picked it up, but the other guys didn't. That's okay. That's more than fine. I was just looking for different sorts of ways of trying to make sure I was making best use of my DPS time. You seem to be constantly trying to set up for a big burst, and that big burst just isn't quite there. It's not quite there whatsoever. It could just use with, if you get things right, Fury has a huge potential of doing amazing amounts of damage in the hands of a better player. That's what it feels like, because we can set all these things up, we could do all these kind of things, and we can set up our Colossus Smash, our Raging Blow, make sure we're enraged, make sure we've got Trinket procs up, make sure we've got cooldowns ready. So we've got all these things up. We've got enraged, we've got Colossus Smash, we've got cooldowns, we've got trinkets, we've got banners down, we've got all this kind of stuff. I was setting that up as best I could and just trying to get big results out of it. The big results weren't quite there. The boss obviously takes increased amounts of damage here. You can see I'm doing 630k attacks here. Absolutely insane amounts of damage. But it was more about, this is what you can do. The damage scales very, very heavily. I would like to try a really increased Mastery build, perhaps, to make sure that while we're using Enraged, we get these huge bursts that seem to be correct. At the moment, though, for consistent regular damage, I went with a very, very heavy hit build. So much of my damage was coming from white damage. I mean, way above, like 30 to 40% of my damage was coming from just white attacks, that I just thought, hey, you know what? I just need to make sure best use of these white damage is coming up all the damn time and making sure I'm there. So that's the Fury Warrior so far, guys. Not overly impressed, but looking forward to some big changes. Have a great day, guys.